Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Today, beside me again is Alan, and we have planned what we're saying. We are going to talk about Virtually Expo, which is an event that you might know. It happened last weekend. I went there virtually, and so did my friend, who's Alan. Board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey. And we've got Sink, who says, hello, Bez. Hello, Alan. And Alan, good morning,
hello, Alan.
And Alan.
Hello.
You can never have enough Alans.
Exactly. Yeah, I noticed that Alan seemed to be everywhere on UK Games Expo. Your name was cropping up a lot in a good way, obviously. That was.
Well, yeah, Alan
nice
was one of those people that we talked about where, and yesterday, I did shout, but I made sure to mute it because I was just talking about LARP. But it's, as always, lovely to have
5 of you were there. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. In the game design world, it's always Dave. There are loads of Daves in the game design. We're not the best. We're the exception, actually. We're the only game designers who aren't called Dave.
Yes, literally in the entire world, every single game designer, like the great Dave Knizia.
Yes, exactly.
Great, wonderful, and Dave Feduzzi,
and
all wonderful designers.
Dave Felt, yeah. Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right, I am Bez. If you are in Australia or New Zealand, it is approximately bedtime. We are going to be blethering about board games. And today we are going to be talking and, in fact, pretty much debriefing Virtually Expo together. Yeah. Now, both of us, and so, yeah, Sates is now Dave.
Hello, Dave.
You're my wife. Sorry. Bad reference.
Yeah. Before we start, Bez, I should point out that during the expo, behind me, I had my stands. So I have actually dismantled. I had my banners, my big roller banners. So I have actually dismantled my Virtually Expo stand. Hence, you can only see my cupboards and.
So there was a physical.
There was a physical Virtually Expo.
And I have to admit, I didn't have a backdrop, but I did try to make a special effort with, at least at. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't have the physical space. My bed is literally there's about this much space, however much that is, about 10 centimeters, 8 centimeters between the back of my chair and the bed. So there's not quite enough space for a stand.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this is my office. So, well, as you can see, it's incredibly busy as an office because I've got behind me. I've got my Pocket Campaigns games over here, and Lux Turner on the top, and over here I've got a game I'm playing, Quartermaster General, etc. It's all very complicated. I have stacks of things. And at least I know where they're supposed to be. Nobody else does.
And so this is a sneak preview of what we are going to be talking about. It is Virtually Expo, and it is possibly a one-off event. And it was planned as a one-off event, although I personally have hopes, just jumping ahead, I have hopes that it will repeat every year, 6 months apart from the actual UK Games Expo. I'd like to obviously talk about why it happened. So, our current pandemic, obviously, but it, why we went, what it is, why it was good, why it was bad, and lessons learned for us, and maybe having a little bit of a ponder about the ramifications for Essen and other future online conventions in 2020. Does that seem like a reasonable plan?
That looks and sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off by talking about brilliant things. Brilliant things. Here's a little thing which is brilliant. Sorry, I didn't ask you if you had something.
I have got something brilliant. Oh, well, I haven't got it with me, but I have got something brilliant, which is seedless blackcurrant jam.
Ooh.
Yeah, seedless, you see. The trouble with blackcurrant jam is it's really, 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 really tasty, but it has seeds and they stick in your teeth and stuff. And so, it's really good to have, but I only have normal blackcurrant jam only very, very infrequently, because otherwise you have to get all the seeds out of your teeth. But seedless blackcurrant jam just solves the problem, doesn't it? Completely.
So is this a creation of your wonderful partner, Charlie?
It is, yes. Well, I think it was recommended by, it might have been recommended by one of our daughters, actually, I think, possibly. And we can get now, of course, we have seedless Loganberry as well, and you can just presume you can probably do seedless blackberry. I don't know. Well, you do bramble jelly, and people do bramble jelly. But the slight difficulty, just in case anybody's thinking this is a panacea, the slight difficulty is that with seedless blackcurrant jam, because you haven't got the seeds in it, it's slightly less strong. And there's something so marvelous about really strong blackcurrant jam.
So it's kind of like a give and take. So there's a question: do you want the seeds? Do you want to have that intense flavor, but then to suffer getting them out of your teeth?
That's it. So sometimes
I would say yes.
Yeah, I'd still go occasionally with the full-on blackcurrant jam, but for general consumption, I think
I am very curious. Now, I realise that my games are over there. I'm going to run over just for a second while we talk about games. What have we been playing? What are their names? Games.
Games? Playing games?
Yes.
Oh.
If you are happy to go first, I will.
Sure, yeah. Xate actually asks, what if you puree the seeds? Well, you can't actually really, I don't think you can really do that. I'm not quite sure. You'd have to crush them in some way, and I don't think we can really do that. And they might actually be bitter. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't tried that one. Games, right. Well, I have been playing Quartermaster General 2nd edition. I've just started a game of Quartermaster General 2nd edition. Now this is play by forum on BoardGameGeek, which is an interesting, which I did it once before at another virtual con, I think it was. But the great thing about playing by forum is that, of course, it can then be asynchronous, so you don't all have to be in the same place at the same time. And there's a great script that somebody's written on the BGG Play by Forum, which does complicated things like dealing you your manages to set up dealing you your hand of cards, and there's a mechanism, a fairly straightforward mechanism with a menu that's generated by a script to play a card, draw a new card, discard cards if you want to. And that's all handled by a relatively simple script. It's quite fun. And we also have a virtual board on Google Slides, which actually just shows
some secrets information in Quartermaster General, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you keep track of that? How do you make sure that?
I mean, it's in this very, very, very long script which you can store in a bookmark and just run it. The thing is,
it's all done by JavaScript.
It's all done by JavaScript. Yeah, amazing. And so it keeps track of all the cards for each individual player. So it doesn't attempt to run the whole game for you. It just means that, for example, I'm a USA, so when I do my turn, I will quote my previous reply which exposes the bits and pieces of the script to this version of the script, and I press on the bookmark, it will then find in my previous turn the cards that I've got and the cards that are in my discard and the cards that are left in my deck, and then I play a card and take a card. When I take a card, it will randomly select a card out of my deck and hold all that information effectively in the reply that is then posted on the BGG forum. It's pretty neat, yeah. Combine that with
the person
who wrote.
Was that recently, or was that several years ago that someone programmed this JavaScript to?
I think it must have been around I think the original one must have been around for a couple of years, I think. But this new one for second edition second edition only came out, I think, in the last 6 months or so, 9 months.
Okay,
maybe.
so it was before.
There was a script before.
Pandemic.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been fun to actually play a game with that mechanism. Yeah. And I played Terraforming Mars yesterday with Charlie.
Oh, we've got at least one fan of Terraforming Mars. And
I take it that's not you
then. I am not against Terraforming Mars. I would agree to play it if it were in person. I just found it like, it didn't grab me. I've only played it once, to be fair. It didn't grab me. I'd be very happy to play it again in person with someone. Maybe we played it with too many people. It just seemed like it wasn't enough interaction. It was.
I think I would play it in person. I don't think I'd like to play it online. Because it's all about the interaction between players. It's about celebrating the little weird things that can happen, and little things like, towards the end of because it's random card draw. Towards the end of the game, you'll get that massively important card that you really wanted at the beginning. You can just show your opponent, look, I picked this up as my last card draw, and if I'd had that at the start of the game, yes, those little moments are what you want, really, I think.
And Xate suggests that it's for 2 to 3 players max, but I kind of have this issue. Like, if a game says a number on the box, it should play reasonably well with that number. I feel like I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that the game should necessarily be the best with that number, but it should at least be a good experience with that number. And so I feel like I'm not saying that this is the case, but if everyone is agreeing unofficially that 4-player Terraforming Mars is not a good game, then why do they have 4 players on the box?
I wouldn't say that. No, 4 players is not a bad game. No, it's still a good game for 4, but there's more downtime. It's longer as well. I think personally, I would. Well, of course, it depends on the group. If it's a group of players who know it very well and they can play it quickly, then I think Terraforming Mars with 4 is going to be fine. But I would go with 2 or 3. I'm with Tate on that one. It is longer with 4. If you get 1 or 2 players with a bit of AP, and 4-player Terraforming Mars is a bit too long.
It kind of, just a sneak preview, at some point in the future, probably Chris and I are going to have a rant about a game which is literally broken at 2 players, by which I mean there's a high probability that the rules as written, the game will come to a position where neither player can make any possible move.
Oh, well.
And, that's, a more extreme example. And that's a game where it says 2 to 6 on the box. And, the question is it fair to review it, given that we've only played it 2 players? But I think it is fair to say, at least, that a game, if it says 2 to 6 players, you should not come into a situation with that player count. You can say, okay, this is a subset of the review. This is based just on the 2-player experience. But at least for this 2-player experience, it's completely, literally broken.
Yeah, if it says 2 to 6 on the box, it really shouldn't be broken for 2 or 6, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyway, that's, you know, I feel like I need to really spend an episode at some point with someone, possibly you, Alan, just talking about player counts in games.
We could. Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Great.
good one. We'll put that. We'll mark that one down for future. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks or 4 weeks in the future.
Sure.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about the games that I played last night.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I did go over to Chris and McCall's, my lovely ex-housemates, and we played 2L games. We played Hippo, which is by Helvetic, the publisher behind Kawaii, and I can't remember who designed it, which I know is... I'm just going to skim through these. So Hippo is a game of rolling dice, placing down counters, and you can combine dice to place fewer counters, but then the idea is that if you place them on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, they're more likely to get knocked off by someone else because there's limited spaces on each number. But if you go higher, then you're less likely to be knocked off by someone else. And that's in theory meant to be the main game. We found it to be a little bit simplistic for our personal tastes, but it was a nice way to pass a few moments. We also played Bidel, which is an L deck game where it's one of the competition entries. I'm deliberately not saying who made it. Bidel, you use the cards, and so the lower the letter in the alphabet, so B is the best letter because it's all based on the first letter in the alphabet based on the bottom letter, if you know what I mean. So A being on the top, that's irrelevant. You start off with B, C, D, then F, G, H, and so when it's in your hand, all that matters ostensibly is the letter, and then you use the letter to bid. And then when it's in the middle, once you've bid, that becomes the thing that you're bidding on for the next turn.
Yes.
And when it's in the
middle,
the thing that matters is the suit. And it's basically a set collection game where it goes up in triangular numbers. So if you've got, it goes 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, blah, blah, blah. And so you're trying to get as many of one suits as possible. The first game we played, we'll play it with the same rules as we misplayed, apparently, the first time around with hidden information. And in the second game, we played with full open information where you put down your thing and then you flip it over and it's instantly, oh my God, Chris, you chose the same suits as me. Damn you. And so it's both gone double into one suit, which actually gives a good reason to not go double into one suit because it doesn't give you any flexibility because you starts off with 2 cards that you start off just to seed your sets, which is a really nice idea, just to give yourself a little bit of asymmetry. And then McCall managed to win both games. It was, there's a fair bit of randomness. Oh, sorry.
That sounds like a good design. It sounds quite nice and tight.
Yeah, and it is a really nice one. And we played it a couple of times, and then it was like, hey, do you want to play it again, or do you want to try something else? To be fair, we don't normally play a game more than twice, so it's not a reflection on the game that we only played it. But yeah, that was. I'm really interested to play a lot more of that and to share that with everyone else. That's a strong contender. We also played a rummy style game, which I'm not going to share too much of my thoughts. Again, I don't want to influence too much. I'm aware that I'm probably already influencing, if David Brain, if David is watching this, or Andrew Dennison, if Andrew is watching this. But so this rummy style game, we played to 26 points. We made some small changes. We said, okay, instead of it being 1, 3, and 5, because the original designer said, yes, change whatever you want. We made it 1, 2, and 3. And that rummy style game, we did halfway through make a rule change that was definitely a bad decision on our part, because afterwards we were like, oh yeah, that's why we shouldn't have made that decision. Because we said when you're refreshing, you're able to pick up from the discard pile. And I went, wait a minute. This means that we're basically always running out of the discard pile so that people don't have a choice from discard or draw deck on their turn. It also amplifies the power of making a weak suit to build up refreshes. But those are really,
If you're talking about playtesting, can I interject? Yes, because last night we played a game that is being developed by Sebastian Bleasdale and Ian Vincent.
Oh, you mean Dave Bleasdale and Dave Vincent?
Sorry, yes, Dave Bleasdale and Dave Vincent. Excuse me. Sorry, I got that wrong. Got their names wrong. It's a game with a great title, Railblazer. I like Railblazer. It's a train. Obviously, it's a train game. It's kind of track laying. You're laying your own tracks across the continent. I mean, in this case, we were playing their North American map. So you're laying track across the continent and trying to link up cities. Each city, or most cities anyway, have got commodities. So there's a bit of set collecting. You're trying to collect the same commodities, and preferably different ones from everybody else. So because you score those, and this was a play test to find out whether one of the minor tweaks that they'd done was going to work. And there's still food for thought in that game. It's kind of at the same kind of level as Ticket to Ride, perhaps a little bit more complex. So it's definitely aimed at that kind of market. It's not a hardcore gamers game.
I mean, those are two marvelous designers.
Yeah, this game's been around for a little while. I've played various versions of it, and it didn't have that name before.
I was actually talking very briefly about our game yesterday. No, sorry, Sunday.
Right.
The game currently known as Hunters. Is it still? No, it's not Hunter's Pie currently. I didn't name it. I just said that there was something that we were working on together. I can't remember what it's currently known as.
I don't think we've got a current. Hunter's Pie is good enough.
That's the working title.
Yes, the working title, Hunter's Pie. Yeah. There's going to be
where I said it was originally called Road Dog. You like moving gnomes, to move a gnome, to move a gnome, to move a gnome, to maybe remove a tile.
Yeah.
Oh, I should.
Snappy title.
Morning, Alex. It has been lovely. Sorry, we got kind of totally excited about all the game chats, and I didn't say hello to everyone in chat. And morning, Jay Foolsguard. It is lovely to see you back. And Andrew January, lovely to see you. Alan says, would I ever consider using dice as well as cards in one of my games? Absolutely. I mean, it's just so happened that in all my self-published things, cards are cheaper to print.
Yeah.
I could literally put cards into a talk box, and I was thinking this morning, I could probably sell that on Kickstarter if it was going direct for £7. Maybe even £6, and just as a first print run, because I'm thinking about having these small tuck box editions, just like, okay, here's 1,000 copies of a game, and I'm never going to reprint it in that edition with that artwork ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sensible plan, but it's just to say, hey, here's 1,000 copies. Once it's gone, it's gone, and maybe it'll become the next Yogi. Maybe it'll just be something that, okay, it never gets reprinted because there's not the interest. But
it depends on how much time. It depends on how much time and effort it takes. It depends whether it's distracting you from something which you might consider to be more important. Really, I think that's
absolutely. And I just feel like there'd be some nice almost freedom in saying, okay, here's something that I'm making it as a budget version. I don't need to spend time iterating upon the letter shapes 4 or 5 times to make them the absolute best that they can be. I'm going to allow myself, frankly, a bit less, just, okay, I'll do the first edition, like maybe I'll redraw some things a second time, but then that will be it. Kind of something quick, relatively quickly done. It'll be, just aiming to do it in a faster turnaround and a bit more high energy, be like, boom, this is what you get.
Yeah, but and that could be the basis of a pitch to another publisher, of course. If you wanted to
absolutely, because it was thanks to In a Bind that Yogi became a thing, because Dave Cousins, like every board game
everyone
but they are actually called Dave Cousins of North and South Games. They showed it to several publishers, including Gigamic, and Gigamic came back with a very nice offer.
It's partly what we've done with Surprise Stairs, we decided relatively early on that we would do our own first edition. So like we did with Tower Seat of Kings, and we did to an extent with Snowdonia, although we did co-publish with Lookout Games and with Uplay in Italy. But our idea was that we would publish our relatively small editions, which would be 1,000 maybe, or roughly that kind of quantity, and then hopefully somebody else would pick it up, and that can definitely work. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry for the ramble. To answer Alan's question, yes, I'm very happy to use dice. It's just that for my self-published things, it's easier to not use dice. But I did have at least one sort of pitch that did use dice. But the last game that I played last night was an old vintage from '96, I believe. It was printed Penguin Pile Up. And you basically...
I like the fact that that's vintage. Sorry, 96. Well, I suppose it is the previous century.
Let's see when it's actually Penguin Pile Up on BoardGameGeek. I'm fairly sure that it was before then, in terms of the first printing. Okay.
Okay.
There's... No, I can't find it. Board game. Iceberg Seals is a... apparently it's still from '96, but yeah, it is from the last century. It's vintage enough.
Yeah.
It's basically not a new game, is what I'm saying. It's like... And, I know it's younger than either of us, but, board games, do generally faster.
Yeah.
And so Penguin Pile Up is very similar to lots of games. Put little penguins onto a shaky iceberg. The iceberg is teetering and tottering. If the things fall off, you collect them, get rid of all your penguins to win the game. Now, this has the old problem, like I said with in my review of the Last Straw, which is that ultimately, potentially, maybe no one wins, because if no one has enough skill to keep it going and to place all their things, then, well, it's just going to be an exercise in frustration.
Yeah.
What I will say is that because our skill perfectly matched the challenge of the game, for us, it was a really fun experience.
Yeah.
And then it got into insanity when McCall suggested putting water into the base of this game. It is all made of plastic, so we wanted to see how the water would change the coefficient of friction plus the movement of the iceberg. Then we started a house rule where you're allowed to blow on other people's turns. Like, you've got to be at least an arm's length away, but you're allowed to blow because of the water, it would just start spinning and spinning round.
Oh, right.
But eventually Chris did manage to win, and then we played an impromptu game of hiding every single penguin around their house so that they can see if their housemate finds them in the future.
Okay, I think you're being a bit innovative there.
It's not about the quality of the game, let's be honest. It's just about how well that game suits the moment.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes, that's good. Yeah, interesting experience that Charlie had playing Takanoko with Oscar, our grandson. He's 6. Now, normally what he does, because he's only 6, normally he will play with the pieces, and there's not a game there, but he's playing with the pieces, and you're helping him playing with the pieces. But this time he wanted to actually play. He wanted to know what the rules were, and play, and actually did manage to play the game properly.
Oh wow!
Which is highly significant. So he was enjoying that a lot. So
that
was
Oscar has
that was one of the moment things
with a lot of board games around him.
He has indeed, yes. But it's nice to see him playing, playing a proper game properly, which is great.
I mean, I think I remember playing, some children's games, some Kinderspiel des Jahres winners, as well as Niagara Falls.
Yes,
and Niagara with Oscar. Those were good times.
Yes, Mhm. We ought to talk about the expo, shouldn't we?
Yes. So let's quickly. Shall we just skip the recent highlights, or let's plow right through it because we've already been chatting for half an hour. I'll say my recent highlight was talking to people, talking to lovely people, and going on a walk with McCall, and also playing the games.
Yeah. Well, my recent highlights were talking to loads and loads and loads of friends at the expo. That was it. I mean, really, that was a major thing about the expo. Actually, talking to people who we hadn't talked to for a long time, who were friends, which is great.
And at this point, as we get into the main topic, finally after half an hour, I will say to everyone to please feel free to comment, ask questions, and I will pop up all the comments that are kind of seem to be super relevant and we are replying to. And if you are enjoying this, then please do like, follow. And I should actually give a quick link to my YouTube page, because then if I get, I think, only 43 more followers, something like that, then I get to have a real name.
Oh, I see. So you've gone YouTube now? Huh.
Oh, I've always been streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
Okay.
So now let's get stuck into actually questionably quick questions. Alan, how many years have you been going to UK Games Expo?
All of them.
Do you know how many years
it is? I have no idea. I have no idea how many it is, but all of them. I can't remember.
14?
Is it? Oh, crikey. That makes me feel old.
Oh.
Yeah, but never mind.
I've been going, I think this is my 10th year. So I'm only 4 years behind you.
So right back to the Clarendon Suite. Remember that?
Although having said that, you did start off as an exhibitor. I started off as a volunteer.
Ah, right, yes. Yes, we started off as exhibitors. I think it was the Clarendon Suite where we started. That was where it was initially, yeah.
Other quick questions. And what time did you wake up this morning, and what did you have for breakfast?
I woke up at 6:30. I got up straight away and let Charlie have a bit of a lie-in, and I had seedless blackcurrant jam on toast for my breakfast and coffee.
I had, if anyone cares, crunch nut cornflakes, and woke up around 8:30ish. So which is a lion. What I'm not sure what Sate is shocked about. So with UK Games Expo, do you predict yourself going every year?
Yes. I mean, we don't do a huge amount of marketing at Surprise Dare Games. We have got no marketing specialists. But part of our marketing is to go to Expo. So I'm thinking, yes, we will go to. We will almost certainly every year go to Expo and go to Spiel every year, because our customers would expect us to do that, and we rely on our customers entirely. So I think that's a no-brainer, really, unless it gets incredibly expensive. I think we would be committed to doing that. In a way, if I look back, when we started going to the Expo, we would always compare the Expo with Spiel, and the footfall at Expo has always been obviously a lot less than Spiel, and in terms of cost effectiveness, because the footfall is less, but the cost is, well, now it's similar. I think it's still slightly cheaper going to Expo, but not much cheaper. Spiel would always be our number one, and Expo would be our number two. But we would go. I think it's partly we wanted to make sure that we support the UK games industry as well as we can, through whatever we can do, and supporting the Expo is part of that. So it's being part of the community is one of the reasons why we go to Expo. It's an important thing, I think, for a UK company to do, be part of that community. It also means we're not hard-nosed commercial people either, are we? Tony and I are not really Really like that. Yeah, this is our virtual stand. I did
to explain what exactly you were doing for the Virtually Expo.
Yes,
So
what the heck were we doing?
all the events are no longer available on the Virtually Expo website,
Yeah.
but you can still go in and see people's stands, and you can still go in and see something like this where you can scroll up and down.
Yeah, what we actually did was well, I didn't really have any clue, I don't think anybody, as to how it was going to actually work physically in terms of, or virtually, how it was going to work. So the model, the metaphor, if you like, that the Virtually Expo took was the physical con. So basically they were saying, this is what the physical con is like, let's translate that into a virtual experience. Now, I can understand why they did that, because they were doing it in literally 10 weeks and they had like one developer to do it with. I mean, and they didn't know what was going to happen either. Didn't know how many people were going to show up. They didn't know what was going to work and what was not going to work. So they were doing as best they could in that short period of time with the resources they had available. So the facilities for the virtual stand, how to set up the virtual stand is basically a page. It's a web page. And there were some specific things you could put in. You could put in pictures, videos, text, links, and you could also schedule events. So you could actually state, you can't see it in the current stand, they've taken events down, but you could state on your stand, we're going to do these events at these particular times, and there were 3 types of events you could put in. And importantly, there's this little section called Talk, and you could have links, have buttons there that people push to go to Twitch or go to Discord, or they even had a little instant chat. You could instantly, if you click on the instant chat one, it would set up a Jitsi room, and you would then be able to take people to one Jitsi room and talk to them immediately. I'm not sure a lot of people use the Jitsi thing because it's just dumping everybody in the same room, I think. And we decided that, well, we didn't have enough. We only had me on the stand.
Sorry, what room?
Jitsi. Jitsi is another channel facility like Discord or Slack.
No, I totally missed that.
The thing about Jitsi is that you can create a room on the fly, whereas with Discord you have to set up a channel, and it can be either a text channel or a voice channel. With Jitsi, it just sets it up on the fly, so you can immediately invite people into that particular room, and that's got chat, audio, and video for that room. But it's only the one room. There's no breakout rooms or other partitions to it. So you can set up several of them if you wanted to, but you have to tell everybody about where those rooms are. But most people using Discord, because I think a lot of the online gaming community knows Discord. So I think most of the stands were using Discord and Twitch for actual communication. Now, I decided, since we were using that analogy of a physical stand and mapping it to a virtual one, I decided to kind of make a pretty page and put pictures, and so I had some box art. There we go. There's our 4 current games. At the top we've got our banner, which is like our website banner. There's our 4 games we're currently selling, and then underneath I've got a little bit about each of the games and a link to our shop and the Kickstarter page for more information. And I did an unboxing video for the Ming Voyages and the March Approach, which are the 2 new ones that we're selling at the moment. And at the bottom, this was a facility that had the new games that's now. The reason I got
anything that was new to buy, new to try, or new to pre-order.
The reason I have them duplicated, and that is simply because I had actually indicated the new games back before Expo went virtual, with the little they had placeholders. The top ones are little placeholders for that. Then when it came to the Virtually Expo, I put the full details on as new entries, because there wasn't any way to edit the old ones. At least I didn't find any which were the old ones. So that's why it's repeated. And I did ask them to take off the old ones, but obviously there are better things for them to do. So it's fine. And I was fairly happy with the stand. Now, I also put in links to Paul Grogan's videos, which he had done for us for Ming Voyages and March Progress, because I figured if you go to the top of that's the unboxing video. But if you go to he's got the wrong, he seems to have the wrong caption on as well. Weird. Anyway, there were Paul Grogan did some videos for us for a Kickstarter for the Ming Voyages and March Progress, so you can have a look at those as well. The reason I did it like this was because, well, partly I didn't know what was going to happen, and I wanted people to be able to look at stuff. My thought was that you would have people kind of casually dropping by, like in a real stand, and I would do lots of demos to people. So I had some.
Let's not talk about how it's actually went. Let's talk about our plans and stop at that point, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, and just want to say that it feels to me, and yeah, I think it was Alex who said they'd be interested to hear our thoughts on how successful we felt Virtually Expo was. And that's absolutely something that we want to get to as part of this. So how we prepared, and how many streams were you planning to do, Alan?
Yeah,
how many demos?
I planned to do 4 scheduled Twitch stream presentations. So I was basically planning to do two of each of the games on Saturday and Sunday. So basically Ming in the morning, March Progress in the afternoon on each of the Saturday and Sunday. So that's what I actually planned to do. That's what I actually did as well. And those were effectively my kind of, well, if people don't ask me for demos, I'll do some presentations, and people can schedule it and show up and go to those.
Seems a reasonable thing. So looking at my stand, let me pause that. My stand was nowhere near as nice looking. It was basically, hey, here's my logo, which really, more I see it, I realize it just needs a bit of red, like a touch of red, like maybe an underline.
Yeah.
Just like underlining bears. That's probably what something needs to change. Anyway, and also that's my old logo. But anyway, so I did put, a brief description. I said, okay, the new game is this thing, which you can see, okay, Dice and Ink, and I unfortunately didn't have a picture of it. I wasn't quite, I didn't take the time, to be honest, that I could have taken. I did write down what events I was doing, and I did share information around the internet that 10 AM on UKGE Expo's own channel, I was doing a talk. 12, 2, and 4 each day I was doing a thing, whether it was Kitty Cataclysm on Tabletopia, Flowers Over Towers, Giftable with other people, then a talk which was hopefully going to be a bit more meaningful, talking about how my last year has been in terms of stuff by Bez and what I'm planning for the year or so ahead. Fable, quick demo, Yogi Stock Guru, which was a crazy thing. Thank you, Xate, for helping facilitate that in the first time. And then a Let's Play Free Mill, 4 Mill, and Micro Muckle together, by which point I was surprisingly brain dead, because as opposed to my stream, where I thought, okay, I would be able to just do it and kind of do it in a casual way, there's a lot to take in on a stream. But just to go back to the preparation, I did spend a bit of time thinking about, and Alan Alton, it has props, a lot of respect for the content, and yeah, beforehand I had been thinking, okay, what's the best possible experience I can put on? Because going to a real world UK Games Expo, my normal approach is to say, okay, how many tables can we have? Let's have people so that every table is being manned. and hopefully we can always grab people and get them into games. And actually, I always find UK Games Expo far more successful than Essen, purely because at UK Games Expo I'm able to get other people involved. I'm able to have a slightly bigger stand, but even with the same space, and so I originally was taking that approach and thinking alongside my own streams, I would have a lot of people on the Discord. Now, toward less than a week to go, I decided, yeah, this is going to be too much. I don't quite have the people, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. It might be that no one turns up. I don't want someone to be in the Discord on their own, being forced to kind of deal with one other person. That looks really lonely, and it's going to be a sad experience for them. And honestly, when there's no one there and then you're waiting for that one person, it's almost like a harder, less enjoyable, it's more boring. It's not an interesting job. Whereas if there's like a constant stream where it's okay, you're doing a demo, okay, you've got like maybe you get to wrap up, you say goodbye, and then you do another demo straight away. That, you know, can be a lot, at least if it's a game that you don't dislike, then you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have good fun showing off this thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, my approach was slightly different at the start. I mean, I had expected. I ought to say what happened. We haven't said what happened. We've just done a bit of planning.
Okay. I thought we'd go kind of chronologically.
I mean, my plan. Yes, I planned to only do those 4 demos, which I scheduled for about an hour each. The actual Twitch stream presentations. That's largely because the only streaming I've ever done before is with you, Les. So I'm not experienced. So it's all going to be a bit new for me. And jumping in at the deep end, doing a live presentation at the expo was a little bit daunting, I have to say. But then again, I was talking about games that I know about, so it shouldn't be too bad. And those, I put those in, and literally it was a guess as to how long I should spend doing that, as opposed to being on Discord. That it was just a guess. I had no clue how much audience I was going to get. And like I said, I had no clue as to how many people would actually go to the Discord server. It's worth bearing in mind, of course, that when people go to Discord, they're no longer in the UK Games Expo, because this is separate Discord server. We created a separate Surprise Day Games Discord server, which we hadn't had before. We have our own. Charlie and I have our own Discord server for playtesting and private play, if you like, with friends. But we created a specific, if you like, corporate Discord server for Surprise Day Games for this purpose. So we can use that again for Spiel, I guess. And it's a curious thing. So you've got this kind of weird people coming into Virtual Expo, but then when they click on a button, they've effectively left Expo and gone to somebody else's server, so they're no longer in Expo, which isn't, that analogy no longer works. Oh, thank you, Alan. That's very kind. Yeah, the preparation I had to do was put the Ming Voyages and March of Progress on Tabletopia.
Yeah, that's actually something I did myself, just thanks to, I think it was Mark being gone just a week and a half before UK Games Expo, and I managed to get the L deck into Tabletopia. And I was thinking, okay, should I get the L deck and Kitty Cataclysm? And in the end, I've decided, no, I'm just getting Kitty Cataclysm, because at least basically my reasoning was that there are games with the L deck that I can show off online, but I cannot show off Kitty Cataclysm physically because it's all about that hidden information.
Yeah, yes.
And so showing it on Tabletopia was the only way that I could do it. And so now if you go to Tabletopia, under new games, it is actually still pretty high up there, Kitty Cataclysm.
Once you have the artwork for a game, I found it's now relatively straightforward to put it onto Tabletopia, or I presume Tabletop Simulator, although I haven't really used Tabletop Simulator much. And I found that it only took me less than half a day to put the March of Progress up. from start to finish.
For me,
it's not too bad at all.
As a card game, like, it is incredibly easy. Like, for the actual, okay, I've got all the prints ready files that I sent off to the printer a while back. Okay, listen, Chris, I'd rather you do it. Can you spend a bit of time turning this multi-page PDF into individual things? And Chris spent, I don't know, like 12 minutes or so. Like, and then basically within an hour, we were playing it, and it was very simple. Anything that's just a card game, I think, is incredibly simple to get up on Tabletopia.
That's correct. Yeah, particularly if you've got the same card backs for the whole game, or more or less. That's really easy because you can well, it depends on the software you've got, but if you've got print ready files on a PDF with a bit of software, I mean, we're lucky in that we do have the Adobe suite, so we can easily chop a big PDF down into the individual card chunks very, very simply, and then generate JPEGs or PNGs or whatever for the whole lot very, very simply with scripting, because things like Photoshop have got automatic scripts that you can
you can set up batch progresses, but if it's even like 55 cards, it doesn't take that too long to really save these things as another file format, and then you can select everything at the same time. The stream, look through the YouTube list, and it's all up there. But so there was a bit of preparation. Now, unless you've got anything more to say about the preparation and the lead up, let's get stuck into how it actually went for us as exhibitors, and then maybe also touch upon how, if we engaged with anything as punters.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, for us, well, as I said, my expectation had been that people would go to the Discord channel and ask for demos, and we'd have a quick chat. And I set up a little bar area, chat, and then I had some tables, preset tables for the games. So that was my expectation, and that didn't happen at all. I had very, very, very few, if any, what you might call casual trade. So very few people were coming by in that way at all. In fact, I did one demo, which was of Kingmaker, as it happened, because I had an American guy who actually wanted to see Kingmaker, and we arranged to do a demo of Kingmaker on Tabletopia. But I had no actual demos through that method. However, the things that are happening all the time, which I had thought would happen, but not as much, was people that we already knew stopped by and had a chat. So I was speaking to
within the Discord had a chat.
Within the Discord, yeah. So people would come along because they knew the expo was on. They would come in through the expo, click on the Discord thingy, end up in our Spice Day Games Discord channel, and we would just have a chat. And Friday evening, I had long chats with loads and loads of friends who came by. So it was useful in that sense. And Saturday was very similar, apart from the time that I was actually doing the live streams. I was chatting mostly to friends, other designers, other players, people in our gaming group, other people who were exhibitors. Sorry?
Via text?
No, it was through audio on Discord. Through audio on Discord, audio and video on Discord mainly. I was teaching a lot of people. Some of our friends didn't know how to use Discord, so I was teaching a lot of people how to use Discord, which is again quite helpful. But it shows that the reason for that was, well, we can look at the reasons later on, but that was what was happening. So I would say it was great actually for that. The fact that
you definitely got a lot more traffic in your Discord than you were expecting.
Yes, but it was all from friends and it was other designers and friends, people who we already knew, who were having a long rambling chats. We were blethering, which was great. And I would say that was the major thing about Expo for me, which was really good, was that everybody knew that we were at the virtual Expo. They could come and have a talk to us. So they knew effectively it was like we had kind of pre-arranged to be in one place so we could have a chat. and that was good. But the thing is, well, I think there's comments coming through on the chat here that that can be a bit daunting for people who don't know Discord, don't know us. You know, it's a barrier for people to get through. We can talk about that later. But there were 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen people who did join in who were not who didn't know already, but that was comparatively rare.
And so that sounds really positive. And how did you did four
presentations? Yeah. Well, the ones I did on Saturday, I did via the Tabletopia browser, and that's just horrendous because the amount of I was running OBS software, Twitch, the Tabletopia on a browser, and really it was overloading the system a bit too much. So it did kind of work, but it wasn't technically very good. It took far too long, and it kept breaking. So you know, the interface just in Tabletopia kept being overloaded and not working particularly well. So I did manage to do it, and I think it was, people might have got an idea, but I don't think it was a good viewer experience. So I had a chat with one of our friends on Saturday evening, and I switched on Sunday to doing Tabletopia over Steam, which was Steam was fine. But doing a Tabletopia demo over Steam worked perfectly. Well, I mean, it worked as well as you could expect. And there was very little latency. Whereas with the browser version, it was really a lot of latency involved. Whereas with the Steam version, yeah, it was fine. And I haven't gone back and replayed it yet, which I will do. But I was quite pleased with the Ming Voyages one I did on Sunday. So yeah, I was pleased with that one. The rest was, I think I need more practice at this one, I think. But
there's definitely, I mean, Aquasulus, Alex and Andrew January make really interesting points, which is, as a hunter, you're wandering through, maybe if you just want to gaze at something and check it out, a stream is a nicer way to do that, because you don't have the entering. It almost feels like there's a social contract. There's something nice about lurking, for example, in a Twitch channel, and I've tried to make sure that I never call out people, although Xate showed me how I can actually see like how many people are watching on Twitch, which is amazing to see all these people who are watching, and some of them might just want to have it as part of their morning coffee. They might not want to actually chat. They might not want to get involved in any of those ways. And it's about just being able to peer along and say, oh, what's going on here? And I would agree. Numbers,
I agree. You can see on Twitch, if you go to the Twitch Stream Manager page, you can see how many people are viewing. Well, at least how many people are potentially viewing, because of course they may be viewing but doing something else while they're still got it on, which is fine. I mean,
for sure. I mean, I know we were talking about how there's some people like you know, who do watch many things at once, or who maybe have the sound down on one just to kind of follow along in the chat and are a bit less interested in the game or whatever.
I mean, instead of moving into a bit of analysis of it, if that's okay. I mean, I think I've gone with what happened to us. Do you want to say a bit more about what happened with you? I mean, one other thing we were supposed to talk about, which I forgot, which was what we did as punters, if you like. I mean, and that's another thing, of course. While the advantage of the Discord server is that I can keep eye on the Discord server using my phone because I've got the app, so I can be on the Discord server on my phone while I'm looking at the main stage of the expo, or while I'm visiting somewhere else on Discord. So, Alan's saying I had 4 screens. Yeah, I did as well. I mean, I had my phone, I had couple of screens open and I could go to somebody else's Discord server and I could watch a video. Yeah, that's the major difference between the physical and the virtual, and it has pros and cons. So a lot of the time I was flicking over to maybe a Virtually Expo channel on their Discord server, or looking at the main stage, seeing if something going on there, looking at the other stages, or going and having a chat on somebody's audio Discord channel, while keeping an eye on my own channel. So there's a lot more flexibility of what I could do. So
certainly you can teleport from one thing to another.
Yes. So basically it meant that, unlike the physical stand, I'm not pinned to the stand the whole time. I mean, I can keep an eye on it the whole time, apart from when I'm actually presenting. But I'm not pinned to the stand like you are to an extent with the physical, and that was good. That was good.
So this is my thing of what I had planned and what I did. My UK Games Expo design talk, I think, went well. It was on the UK Games Expo channel, and so for the past few years, I've always tried to do a talk at an expo when I can. I've always put myself forwards, and last year I think I did 2 or 3 talks for UK Game. No, 2 talks. One of them was Board Game Design 101. One of them was about making a game system, and obviously based on my experience with the L deck, but a lot of analysis about other game systems that already exist, including the best one ever, the traditional deck of playing cards. Yes. Now, here I was basically just talking, not Board Game Design 101, but saying board game design is for everyone, and here are some reasons why it's as good, why it can improve your life, why it might behoove you to try it. Nothing to do with getting published, nothing to do with being mass produced. And that's a talk I did. There were 150 people who were like on the stream at that time, which was amazing. And I got quite a good amount of questions that I was able to engage with, and even like someone afterwards saying, hey, that was a nice talk. I'm a teacher and I was wondering if you would do something for our kids at some point. And so I said, hey, can you get in touch with me after this weekend? Because I'm a bit busy this weekend to think about this, but in principle, sure. Anyway, and yeah, I did a quick demo of Kitty Cataclysm, Flowers Over Towers Giftable. So these ones, I'm not going to go into stream by stream, but most of the afternoon ones, I'm going to say, in terms of raw numbers, I did not get more people than I would expect on a Tuesday evening, for example. I got fewer people than I got on the 31st, 1st, and 2nd of August.
Right.
Which was interesting. On the state, I got, on average, I would say about 3 people watching at a time. The State of Bez talk was fairly popular. I'm very glad that it was, because that was like a big event for me. That's going to be a new annual tradition. Maybe I will have like a 6-month check-in to see, okay, how am I doing with those goals that I set myself? But my 3 goals for those who care about it, basically to reprint the Kitty Cataclysm and L deck, to make a book, and to make a better website for the L deck. Yeah. And those are my main goals, although there was a lot of other stuff mixed in there. Those were my main bits. And so I think it's because I was showing off things from the future and saying, okay, I'm really going to just talk about it in a concerted way. People engaged with the topic. I was really happy to see that. Fable, for me, was one of the highlights. So I did find that doing Fable, having someone in chat who was able to influence our story in an improv manner, playing it with Bez Ely and Jason Hodgson, both of whom enjoyed it. That was a wonderful experience. And you get the idea by talking about it and by playing through. And Yogi Stock Guru was really crazy event, and yeah, a bunch of quick word games. I guess I should talk about the different formats. So Kitty Cataclysm was with Tabletopia. I felt Tabletopia, for me, whilst it's not, it's never going to be as good as physically. I guess I am going into bits of analysis. So I'm going to start the general analysis, if that's okay.
Of course.
So Kitty Cataclysm, Tabletopia, it's never going to be as good as sitting on a table with someone and playing the game. But it is second best, I'm going to say. I think that the other alternative is to use a table cam pointing down, as we did with Flowers Over Towers. The problem with that is that you've got lighting issues. If there's sun outside your window and suddenly part of it becomes hard to read, which is what happened, very annoyingly, because it was a very bright day outside on Saturday in London, and that was a bit annoying.
Can I chip in briefly on that point?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, because I did Tabletopia Ming Voyages on the Sunday with Steam. That worked really, really well. I mean, compare that with somebody at our conference of Wargamers weekend was doing the camera version, overhead camera for a war game, and the video was terrible. So it really depends on the tech, and of course it also depends on what the tech at the other end is like. So if somebody hasn't got good video, good capability of receiving streams, you're going to get deterioration. So I still think that Tabletopia over Steam is pretty good, and as you say, I think it's probably second best, but it's pretty good, and maybe preferable to trying to do something which looks more physical using the physical components. I'd have to experiment a bit more with that, but I think it's probably better.
That's the question. With something like Giftable, or I mean, okay, Yogi Stock Guru that we use, there is no way to do that other than with video cam.
Agreed.
I'm so happy for everyone who joined in. We had 4 people who were contorting and 3 people who were doing the trading. And so, yeah, seeing Jess, oh man, now I need to remember everyone's name. Jess, Tom, oh my gosh, Mandela, and Jason, who actually won the whole thing. And so, I've also got the bits of paper here I could have looked over. Whilst myself,
that's such a fun. I mean, presumably that's the same as in the Bond, effectively.
Yes,
which we played. It's that's so much fun, and that can only be done with cameras. You have to have that.
Then we've got something like 3mm, 4mm micro muckle, where all I'm doing is showing 1 or 2 cards to the camera. That's something that you can clearly see, even if it's on this tiny fraction. And Giftable, it works well. But basically what I'm saying is that in terms of raw numbers, it slightly surprised me that I did not get more. I was expecting slightly more people. I was expecting a slight more engagement. I was expecting people say, Yogi Stock Guru, that sounds really cool. And because I did do the amount of advertising in the exhibitor stands that was permitted by the UK Games Expo staff, and I was hoping that people could come in. And
I think my average viewers overall were about 6 or 7, depending on the particular one. I think I've got my Twitch stream summary seems to suggest that I was getting, where are we? I had 34 unique viewers, I think, which is quite interesting, but an average of 6 or 7 at any one time. So that was for the Sunday stuff. So I think I'm happy with that. I mean, I have no idea how that compares with anybody else's. And obviously we're a small company, so I'm not expecting huge numbers to come. But I'm fairly content with that level of exposure, I think, for this, on the basis that I have no understanding of what good, bad, or indifferent might be. I mean,
had Alan Outson talking about how good your page was. And if we kind of look quickly at some other people's, so this is the playtest zone, which again has a nice photo.
I think there was a
kind of give a quick critique of other people's stands.
Yeah, that would be good. There's a huge variety of approach that people had. Bearing in mind the actual functions that we could put on the stands were quite limited. Basically, text, a bit of bullet pointing there, and pictures. You could put video on, and you could add link an event. There was some people, even large companies, taking a very minimalist view.
So, Alan, have you changed something in the past minute with your audio?
Me, no. Have I gone off?
Oh, it's gone back on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was the way you were leaning or something. I don't know.
That's possible. Make sure I'm.
It's all good again now.
Good, right? Some stands took a very minimalist view of it. I mean, in a way, in terms of what you were putting on your stand beds, yours was quite focused. I would like to say, because that says what you want to say. It's basically saying, here's the Twitch schedule. Go to Twitch. And I think that's a really good approach. I think because you were providing, I was going to say entertainment, but you were providing constant content which you were delivering personally at the time. What I was trying to do with ours was to say, if you want to come and talk to me, go to Discord. But in the meantime, here's some videos you can look at. And some stands, I mean, I think Cosmos had loads and loads of links. They had a whole range of videos, pre-recorded material which you could go to. So they had a lot of content in their stand. A lot of it might have gone, of course. They had loads of live events. You had lots of things. So if you wanted to go and if you wanted to stay on the Cosmos stand the whole time, you could probably do that and watch stuff the whole time. So I think all the events have gone, but they had there's a Wolfgang Ludke Q&A. They had you could go and talk to see Rainer Knizia and stuff, and all these were listed at specific windows of time. So they'd say from 9 o'clock to 12 noon, you can go and watch a video which is Rainer Knizia presenting about game design or whatever. So that was their approach. So there was a lot of material you could look at on Cosmos. And I think Asmodee was similar as a big company, but they had a lot more upfront video material, a lot more upfront presentations and Twitch presentations you could do with them. Whereas other companies, I think something like Coiled Spring had very, very little there. You could go and talk to them, but I think there wasn't a huge amount actually on the stand as such. They had very little. Yes, so they've got a bit about their awards. There's a competition you can do, how to buy their stuff, and that's it. There's not actually, and the treasure hunt clue. We'll come back to that probably. That's not Coiled Spring themselves, particularly. That's the treasure hunt from the expo. So there's not a huge amount of content in there, even though they're one of the sponsors, one of the major people in there. But you can chat with them on Discord, and so presumably what they're saying there is, if you want to look at Coiled Spring stuff and find out more, chat on Discord. So that was their approach.
It does strike me that, I really missed a trick. The more and more I think about it, it is all about having online adverts, and people who have been doing that a long time, who have really nice pictures to put up, who have nice videos. We had earlier Jay Foolsguard, who said they would have loved short videos or gifts to get a feel of what is interesting or the core of the game. At which point you ask, okay, how much of it is an event, and how much of it is just here's a big digital advert?
Yeah, I think what I would like to see is some figures on what difference. I mean, the reason for going through those different approaches to the stand is to say how much difference does that make to people actually engaging, and until we get some figures about that, the jury is really out. Does having a lot of colourful content actually make people go to the stand, or do people go to the Discord server and do stuff? In other words, I'd like to know some figures on that before I come to any conclusions. I think the major takeaway for me with this is that what the Expo had done is to effectively use the metaphor of a physical stand and say, right, here's a virtual stand. And to me, that doesn't actually work. And there's several reasons for that. I'm not saying that they were wrong to do it. I'm saying that it doesn't actually work. Because the metaphor, if you think about a physical stand, what happens is people wander along a corridor, and they can see with their eyes what's in the stand. When they go to our stand, they could see there's some tables out front, there's some games on it, there's a shelf or two with some stuff on it, and there's some people there who are manning the stand, and there's some people sitting down at the tables playing some games. So I think, as you said earlier, Bez, at a physical stand, you can loiter, you can go to a table, have a look and see what people are doing. And in a very real sense, each individual person at the stand knows the script they're supposed to follow. So you look at a stand. I mean, if it's a stand which is a very open one, you can wander in and look at the shelves and things. If it's a stand which is a closed one with an entrance, then you have to go through the entrance, and only then can you wander around. Now, you can't actually translate that into this virtual stand. The virtual stand,
yeah,
at every point, somebody has to at every point the participant has to actively do something. They have to first of all click on the stand to see anything at all, and then when they're there, they have to go around. If they want to chat to somebody, they have to click on another thing, and if you're a potential customer, you have to get across that barrier, which is clicking on something, when you don't know what's going to happen when you clicked on it. So there's that technical barrier. There's the barrier of clicking on something in the first place, and then there's a barrier of, I don't know what's going to happen next because I don't know the script of this. If you don't know Discord, you won't have a clue what's going to happen when you click chat on Discord. If you do know Discord, you will know vaguely. You'll go to a Discord server, and you may or may not know how that's going to work. And each Discord server is set up slightly differently. So there's a technical barrier. Do I know Discord or not? But there's also a psychological barrier. Who is going to be there? Is there anybody going to be there? What's going to happen next? Whereas on a physical stand, you know what's going to happen, and that's why the metaphor of the physical stand doesn't work. It just the ground rules of a physical stand just are not there. Now I can go on.
Yeah,
I'd like to talk a bit more about what we might do in the future about that.
I think before we really get stuck into the lessons learned, let's carry on and just talking about the things. And on the Playtest 2K thing, you see they've got the Learned Gamer Expo badge, which you get one of the badges by playtesting things. And yeah, Alan Outson and Saints have been saying that they never really understood the badges, but it really was just about tapping into that collector mentality.
Yes, it was.
Really saying, hey, here's some fun things to do. There's no point in Xbox Live achievements, but it's not as if you get anything by having all of the numbers, but people do hunt for them, and it's just to have them. And yes, you can show them exactly, you can send a link, and some people, it's, yeah.
The badges were an attempt by the Expo to promote engagement for these badge-laden activities. For example, we had a badge which we could issue to people who had a demo, which I think I used only once in the whole con. But you could pick up specific badges, and I know there were. I mean, a friend of ours who finds it difficult to get around physical cons because she has some physical difficulties. She actually really appreciated the virtual expo she found it slightly better than the physical expo. And the badges were a part of that. So she likes collecting badges. So, you know, that gives some people a thing to do at the expo, a reason for being there, and a reason for exploring. And I think that's quite a good thing. I think that could have been reinforced. And I think one of the points that she made, which is quite key, she felt that although the virtual expo was probably better than the physical one from her point of view, because she could actually get to places, it was noticeable that things she wanted to do were not there. So some people she wanted to see, companies that she wanted to go to, or, you know, products that she wanted to buy or whatever, weren't there. You know, which was a pity, and that shows that it was a reluctance on some companies, some organisations to get involved. To an extent, devalued it for some people, and that, you know, that's understandable. It's a fact of life, I think, with the current situation that we're in.
And it sounds like there was maybe some bad communication about badges, because I think not everything has to be turned into a competition. Not everything has to be for winning a small prize or a raffle. We've got a bunch of chat that could have been a thing, but yeah, it's just for the fun of it. And yeah, now if we carry on looking at what other people did, Pegasus Spiel,
well, they were a major sponsor, and they were also doing fulfillment for people who were quick enough off the mark to take advantage of their offer on fulfillment. I didn't realise they were doing that until far too late. I think the closing date for that was, I think, end of July or something. I was far too late to do that. They had a lot more information.
Amount of information about each of their new to buy games, and even some individual.
I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised by the bonfire one, because this is the latest Stefan Feld game. Now you have to hunt quite a lot in that information to find out that it's the new Stefan Feld game. It's right. I think it's right at the bottom. There we go. Right at the bottom. The last sentence of that is.
Oh yes.
So it's. I would have put that at the top. I mean, really, it's quite interesting. They actually put it right at the bottom, and it's kind of casual. Oh, by the way, it's by Stefan Feld. I should say Dave Feld. Sorry, by Dave Feld. But yeah, so yeah, they put a lot of information there. So in a way, they're a big company. They're following the similar kind of pattern to the one that we did at Surprise Style. I associate myself with Pegasus Spiel, actually. But I almost think that's probably too much text. I think I think this is more like a web page
with the little teasers. Yeah. This is a really nice thing. Obviously, hiring
very nice idea.
A very charismatic John. I can't remember their surname, but lovely person. And yeah, and for each one there's a link to try and play it if you well, for those that have things. And so definitely, whilst it's not a GIF, it is that kind of teaser video that I think is what maybe thank you, John Perkis, that's the one. Yep. And I mean, this almost feels like a bit of what Jay Foolsguard was asking for earlier, with a quick overview. It's not a GIF, but it's that quick. Okay, here's a little teaser.
Yeah. I think this points to what we might do when we're going to the forward-looking. What might work in the future with this kind of approach, and it's scrapping the analogy of a stand. It's saying, right, let's have something different here. So what do we want to tell people as exhibitors virtually? We want to tell them a bit about the product. We don't want to go overwhelm them with detail. I think we probably don't want to have much text, because this needs to be just a quick reference that people can find out a bit more. And then what as a company I think we need to do is provide the thing I really hate. We need to provide more of a good customer experience. and this isn't something which, I mean, I'm not a marketing person. I've always thought as a buyer, I'm not interested in the customer experience. I'm interested in going and buying things. But the expo and spiel and things like that they're not necessarily focused on buying. They are focused on engaging people with our games and with us as people and as designers and as publishers, and as telling people about the kinds of things that we do. So to do that, I think we need to have live content, a lot more live content. So I'm with, in a sense, Bez, I'm with you on your approach, which is to have Twitch stream presentations of many different varieties and a schedule of these. Now, I think we should also have videos which are pre-recorded material about the games which people can look at.
I would probably have set some time aside with Chris, probably of me, because let's face it, I am, you know, a very major person in the company. I don't know why I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm not an actual legal entity as a company. I'm still a sole trader, but yeah, when I'm showing, if I explain Dice and Ink or whatever, the best person to do it, even if it's maybe not as well shot as John Perkis's video, it does behoove me to do it myself. And having a quick thing, which is 60 seconds long, maximum 2 minutes, quickly going over the game, tightly scripted, and so it gives people a quick taste. That is something that Pegasus Spiel, I think, did very well here.
Yeah, yes, I think so. But I would say that there needs to be probably, I think this, from my point of view, I think, and what we'll look at for Spiel is probably, if we end up going to Spiel Digital in a major way, I'd go for 3 strands of things, of content. One is the quick reference stuff. Yeah, the quick 60-second overview and some pictures of the product, and obviously link to a shop so they can buy it. That's the easy stuff. And then I think there's people want to have, some people will want to have a look at a playthrough. So I think a good, well, it doesn't have to be very good, a longer video of a playthrough of the game, so that pre-recorded, so that people can actually say, oh, I really want to see I want to see how the Ming Voyages plays, and they can just play the video and they can see as much of it as they like, and they can stop whenever they like. So in other words, completely pre-recorded. And again, that can be available through the stand with a nice video picture. And thirdly, I think that there needs to be live streamed content. And that live streamed content needs to be fun stuff. I think it needs to be, I use the word entertainment, but I think it needs to be interesting, fun, informative. This is, so I was thinking, for example, a session of chat between me and Tony. As a company,
and like that's the kind of thing where
we have special guests. One of our special guests could be Bez. Bez could be a special guest. You see, hey. Bez and Tony and Alan having a blether, about something. We pick a topic and we blether about it.
Slight tangent, but people called Tony seem to be very entertaining to listen to. Whether it's Tony Boydell or Tony Hyams from the UK Games Expo.
Yes.
Like, I mean, Richard is amazing, and I loved having Richard on as a guest, and I'm hoping to have Millie on as a guest as well. But let's be honest, like some of the comments that Tony comes to, like just Tony sometimes is so frank and cuts straight to the point. I mean Tony Hyams, although
yes,
Tony Boydell
is
more
different,
prone to exaggeration.
Yes.
And vitriol. But
we could have, I mean, special guests. I mean, what I would love to do, for example, is if we just have a chaired session with Tony Boydell and Ben Maddox and who do we add? Tony Boydell, Ben Maddox, and Michael Fox, for example.
Oh yes,
talking with a specific topic that they can rant on about. So that kind of content, and we could have a more serious one with you and I.
But then that gets to the central question of why are we doing it on a weekend? Why does it behoove Surprise Terror Games or indeed Pegasus Spiel to do it on the same weekend as everyone
Well,
else?
yeah, I got an answer for that. The answer for that is everybody. And this is where the link, the analogy with the physical does work. It's you've got a planned time where everybody knows you're going to get together and talk about games. That's what it is. So admittedly, you could do it whenever you like, but if everybody knows, the week of Spiel, people are going to get together at specific times and at specific virtual locations to talk about games. Go there and we'll all talk about games for a week, or as much of the week as you want. That's why. So you can do it anytime you like, and obviously
it's all about getting people into that right mindset.
Yes.
Okay, here's the thing that's going on.
It's saying the audience. It's saying to everybody, if you want to be part of the audience and if you want to participate, then this is the time you can do it. Now, obviously, from your point of view, because you're streaming all the time, Bez, you already have an audience. But your audience will be people who know about you and know about your stream and your schedule. But I think with the expo or with Spiel, it's saying this is a celebration for everybody, and people who've never heard of you will still go to that, and it's an opportunity to do many more things. Who is this Bez? I know some designer. It's probably somebody called Dave, who's a designer. Dave Bez. That doesn't work. That really doesn't work at all. No.
No. You'll have to use my full name, Dave Shahriori.
Dave Shahriori, yes.
So normally, so there are setup days at Essen or any other convention. There are days when trade is allowed, and there is now moving towards a situation where there are times for press or other industry people to go in. I think Cannes has the biggest situation with this. Like Essen, it's kind of okay, you can go around. Officially, you're not actually meant to sell stuff, but people kind of do it.
Yeah.
At UK Games Expo, stands are meant to, last year, stands were meant to go up in Thursday afternoon onwards, and in the evening, there was a press-only section on Thursday night, or it's officially opened on Friday. I believe that as time goes on, it's going to possibly move towards having that press-only section be even longer. I know at Cannes, for example, they have, I think, 2 days or something like that for setup. Then they have a press-only, industry-only day, I think they call it. So if you're an exhibitor, and for a lot of the exhibitor-only day, maybe people don't man their stands quite with the same rigor, let's call it. But there will be one person at the stand rather than a whole team of people. And I'll go around, and that's my favorite day because there's hardly anyone else. It's almost like the Wednesday at Essen. But almost, and where you walk around, you can see everything, and there's no big queues to anything, so you can actually play all the games. And then at Cannes, they even have like a special section, which they have at Essen as well, and where this special section to just show off the new releases from that year, which UK Games Expo doesn't have the physical space to put that up. But everyone does it in their own ways, and
you could replicate that virtually, I think, because in a sense there's no reason why you can't have a separate time in the schedule for press and exhibitors to wander around themselves and look at everybody else's stuff. I don't think there'll be any problem with that. And it is certainly the reason they do it physically is because there's limited numbers of people, and exhibitors need time to talk to press. So I think that probably the same thing would carry through on a virtual. So you might have a virtual press day. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't have that. And actually, that would focus our minds a bit more on getting things ready. If it was
one thing is that on a virtual press day, the reason for that ultimately is that you can have those one-to-one talks, that you can make videos, that someone can interview me on their camera or on their microphone thing. And that's what for me, UK Games Expo 2019 and 2018 felt like they were working as they should be, because I had people coming over like Owen Duffy, who I keep talking about.
Yes,
But
yes.
they're a lovely person. You know Owen Duffy?
Yes, I think that's right. I think that people like Owen Duffy at a virtual press, the virtual press day is about actually talking to the press from our point of view. It's not about them looking at our games specifically. It's about actually them being able to ask stupid questions or good questions, about our stuff. So it's having a dialogue.
I'm not asking you to tag Owen Duffy.
No, but so it's not. I think that I think it would be important to make it clear to people what that kind of scheduled part of the press is for. It's because anybody can come and once you set up the stand, anybody can go and look at the games and see what they're like. But it's for them to talk. It's in actual interactions. It's actually the press to talk to people about things, and that is slightly different from a traditional Spiel press day, where the Spiel press day is basically everybody's got their games out on the tables, and the press go around and look at things and can talk to you. So it's the talking bit which is the important bit for the press day, I think. Just like the virtual experience has to be about people can look at stuff as they want on their own, and a lot of people do that. But having a way in which they can engage if they want to, as well, they can see the entertainment, they can see the products, they can go away and buy them, and those are all passive. They're mostly passive, although obviously buying isn't passive, it is active. But you can passively buy by buying in a shop because it's a virtual shop. But you can also actively engage if you want to, and having the schedule needs to identify these are the times when we would expect exhibitors, press, punters to be able to get together and actually talk and interact, and that actually might be a richer experience then, because you might find that if you're not talking to people talking to if I can call customers, you're not talking directly to customers as much, possibly, because they can freely passively look at your game. I think most of the sales we had at Expo were independent of actually talking to people. They were people just looked at stuff, thought they liked it, and went away and bought it.
Utility though of a press day, because to me at least, it felt like I was never swamped. So the truth is, let's say for actual UK Games Expo, at any given time, I would say I maybe have an average of 20 people at my stand, maybe. And so, 4 times, maybe 12. Okay, there's a good number of people at my stand, and I'm only able to have a conversation with one person really at a time. If 2 people come, my attention is divided, but that's a thing that we can work on. Now, during the actual UK Games Expo, what I've tried to in the past couple of years is to have volunteers who are doing most of the demonstrations, whilst I'm either doing talks on the UK Games Expo rooms, or I'm running the 2 p.m. events, obviously, because that's again a thing where I was thinking, should I replicate that? Is it worth me doing it? And then I decided, you know what, probably not, because it might very much end up like the Thursdays kind of finished up, where there was basically 1 or 2 people watching, and it's not an exciting thing of, hey, let's win a prize. I mean, a prize is only exciting if there's other people actually competing for it to some degree. So at any time, let's say Owen Duffy, because Owen Duffy is a marvelous human who, do they still write for The Guardian? I think
so.
I mean, from The Guardian for their own book, board games. What was the annual, the board games annual?
I'm no good at remembering the names.
Anyway, and
but yes, we know.
He also for that magazine, the Tabletop Gaming magazine. Anyway, great journalist, great writer.
Yes.
That's not in question. What we are saying is that and there's all sorts of other people like Russ, who's a good friend. Like if they wanted to chat to me at any time, they could get in touch with me. They could come along to one of these demos. And I guess what I can't do, given my current schedule, is make something that's tailored to them. I can't say, okay, Ross, what is the thing that you would most like to see? And I will show you specifically that one thing. But how easy is it to even do that? Because in a virtual setting, I need to set up my table cam, or alternatively Tabletopia. I need to be prepared for what Russ would like to see. And, or let's call them Dave, or let's call them Davelina or Davina, because that's the, maybe that's the less masculine form of Dave.
Yes.
Anyway, so I am not 100% sure about the the wisdom of kind of trade-only thing going on.
I think I think it's simply because there are a limited number of people in any company. There's a limited number of people who are available, and if we've got a lot of people at a virtual con, then some companies certainly will want to engage with the press, and they've got a limited number of people. That's why there's the press day in the physical con, is because those people who are manning the stand when punters come around, those people also need to be able to speak to the press at some point. And if you haven't got loads of people, you need to have a time to talk to the press. So I think that's why I think it would still be the same if you had a virtual con. That bit I think would still be the same. You'd still, some company, I mean, from our point of view, it makes little difference to us because we're sufficiently small that a lot of press aren't going to be flocking to our stand. They're not going to be flocking to see our stuff because we're sufficiently niche that we would scarcely register. But for some companies, that might be quite important, and they'll want to have that. And if you just say, well, they can turn up whenever they like, then I think it's in a sense, it's the difference between Spiel and the Nuremberg Drawing Games Fair. So Nuremberg Drawing Games Fair, for those that don't know, it's a big trade fair for toys primarily, but there's also a little games bit.
It's
compared to the toys, it's like little, but it's quite big. So obviously for Nuremberg, it's going to be a mixture of trade. It's going to press, buyers, buyers and sellers getting together. Press is there. So I mean, it's for all the industry. It's an industry show, and there's more time at Nuremberg for designers and publishers and others to get together and talk in depth about things. Now, even though you've got the same people there at something like Spiel, there usually isn't enough time because there's so many people around, there's so many things to do, and it's focused much more on selling to customers, that there isn't time unless you set it aside for the press to get a look in. It's much more frantic at Spiel, and so having a special press day or press time might be better. But from our point of view, from Surprise Dare's point of view, it doesn't really matter to us, to be honest, because we're not that big.
Should we do a couple more things? Like here is Scott. I don't know if you know Scott, based in London, who made this game Swatch.
I don't know that one. No.
Well,
wait a minute. I ought to know that one.
Very nice graphic. Going down, there's a nice photo of it. This is almost set up, honestly, like a Kickstarter page. It feels like that is almost what we should have done. Well, what I should have done. I mean, you did a great job, Alan, but having someone, whether it's me or someone else, explain. But then, of course, with me, it's like, which game do I talk about? Because hey, here's like 20 games that I could talk about. Not to mention, Kitty Cataclysm, Yogi, Dice and Ink. And in a way, when there's just one game, and when you're showing off this is the one new game, there's a nice focus on that.
Yes.
But just to reiterate, Scott has done an amazing job on this, I think. I don't know if they needed to replicate this how to play video. That would be my only criticism if I were giving them a critique.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's focusing on the content. In this expo, I think having a nice lot of content for people to look at, it at least feels like you're getting people to look at your material and giving people a chance to wander around and look at it. Ah,
and
that's good.
Here's Kat Tobin, who's one of the main people at Pelgrane Press, talking about their stuff, and it feels like, okay, this is not quite as well shot as when they've hired someone else to do it. You can see the utility of, who was it, Pegasus Spiel, who got John Perkis to do it, because John Perkis is a media person, they can do lots of fast cuts. Russell can do also a fairly good job, and I don't
think you need to be polished. I don't think that in this new model, I don't think you need to be hugely polished, because I think people are looking more for authenticity rather than gloss, particularly because everybody knows that this is difficult. It's a difficult situation where it's not a normal situation. I think that the over polished stuff feels a bit kind of wrong. I'm not saying that Pegasus are wrong to do what they've done, but there is I think people are being exposed a lot more to the average guy doing videos, the average guy on Zoom, you know, and you know, there's a lot more off the cuff content around. So I think that having something which isn't completely over the top marketing stuff is good. I think it's that authenticity that helps, and I'm glad to see Kat doing that. She's a good friend of ours, and you know, she will project that authenticity quite well, and that's I think what we need. And besides, none of us have got enough money, unless well, even Pegasus, but I haven't got enough money to do that kind of polished video for everything.
I don't know. I think like, it feels like having tight videos, that's going to reap the rewards many times over, because not only can you then have that up on YouTube permanently for to link to it on your Twitter, or if it's 1 minute, even have it directly on your Instagram, but also you can put it into events like this. Oh, apparently I'm still unlocking badges.
Yeah.
So there we go. Oh,
Alicat
I worked on all those titles to some degree.
Yeah, Alicat did a good job on that. So I quite like theirs actually. It's not
I mean, Cesar is a very good business person.
Yes. I think their one is quite good. I think it's got enough there, and it doesn't go on and on and on and on and on. But it's nicely focused. You can actually see the overview of what they're presenting, and you can delve into the detail through these links really easily and quickly, and you can easily go and chat to them as well. So I think they're for this type of analogy of the physical stand, this metaphor they've done, theirs is probably one of the best, I think. It's not overly wordy. It's got lots of pictures, and it's got the Discord channel link and links. I think that's a pretty good example.
I would, if I wanted to criticize, I would say, well, they talk about new games in which they've only got one, apparently, Simon's Cat, and there's no link about this.
Well, the links might have gone, of course. We don't know.
No, because if you remember everyone else's, there could have been text, there could have been videos.
Yes, true.
But none of that remains. There's no text there to say.
No, that's true.
Where to get
say what it is.
To be fair, it does take a lot of work. to go into other people's pages, and it's only in this kind of looking at it retroactively that, you know, hindsight is 2020, and by doing this, hopefully, we'll be better placed for next time.
Yeah, go to City of Games if you can, as a kind of.
Let me carry on. Okay, I'll close
for example.
and you. And
City of Games was an instructive.
We were talking about Coiled Spring. Did we have more to say about them? I like that they link to their favorite retailers.
Well, because they're primarily distributor, aren't they? Coiled Spring. Oh, they do publishing as well, but they don't sell direct, I don't think. So they need
sold directly in some conventions in the past, certainly, because it's just easy for them. But I think they're very much moving towards a model of, okay, we want to push everyone to buy it from our retailers.
Yeah,
and I just
Andrew,
give a prop to Roger Martin, like of Coiled Spring. You know, I would love one day to have a line where I am selling enough units to kind of be one of their companies, because once you are being taken care of Coiled Spring, it seems like they do put a lot of effort into showing off your stuff.
Yeah.
And so they do a really good job with publishers, it feels like to me.
Andrew January mentioned in the chat, maybe the new game from Alley Cat was a placeholder, like with my one my ones that I submitted. There could have been a placeholder for their new game. That's why they didn't manage to edit it. Because that might have been. I think there was
did an epic stream for Alley Cats, which lasted 4 hours.
Oh,
which
wow.
doesn't seem, that's long. I wouldn't call it quite epic. I might be slightly biased given that I did do a 7-hour stream. Oh yes, it could have been something that they couldn't edit later. For sure.
Yeah, can you have a look at the City of Games one, or that's?
There we go.
That was a slightly mad one, because all they have got is that. I mean, that's like
games that I know.
They didn't really try.
Yeah, so it feels like
actually Isle of Cats. Do they do the Isle of Cats, which is a great game?
Yeah.
So it presumably that was a conscious decision that, and you know, like we say, nobody knows what's going to happen. So at least with that one, you go there and you visit their store, and that's, you could argue that's quite an interesting approach to it. It's saying, right, yeah, you're here, but just visit our store. So we don't have to invest in this page at all, because the page might just be replicating what they've got in their store anyway. So it may well be that's.
Remember that Frank West, or I should call them Dave West, of course. Is they are a person, and I know personally that they are trying to take more time off. They want to have more time for themselves.
Right.
They want to kind of work a little bit less. And they've been talking about how they want to be in a position where they can have 4 months off and go on a really long holiday and just enjoy life a bit, which totally fair. And at a certain point, you need to say, okay, am I definitely going to get rewards by being here? I am maybe in the opposite situation where I'm just kind of almost every waking hour, I am thinking about these things. I am actually having to pull myself away from what I would consider my business to remind myself to work out, to play games with Chris and McCall, which aren't just DL games and aren't just, okay, here's something that I'm curious about how it works from a professional point of view, but let's take joy in these things. Let's play Penguin Pile Up and then start hiding things around the room, and which isn't even part of the game, but it was just ridiculous.
It does sound a lot of fun. We didn't mention Paul Grogan. We probably should have done briefly, because he had a stand for Czech Games Edition, and basically his approach was the entertainment channel approach. So his approach here is effectively all-to-all streaming, which is what Paul does really well. So, I mean, in a sense, you could have spent most of Expo just with Paul Grogan.
Now, this is an epic stream.
Yeah. If you want epic, you got Paul. I mean, Paul's Saturday schedule is completely bananas. 9 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. at night, and he's got himself what? I think three. He's got 3 breaks, 2 of which are an hour. Oh, he has
4 hours.
He has
break.
got a 4 hours break. Yeah. He's left. He's given himself. Given himself 2 hours. But that's an epic. That is epic stream.
And also 4 p.m. till 11 p.m.
4 p.m. till 11 p.m. on
and that's
Friday.
Not just what I did with the best stream, which was to have people on and then end up rambling with Leo for like 2 or 3 hours. Okay, this is like a playthrough where Paul is always on. Paul is always like talking and engaging with people. Another playthrough, and then Under Falling Skies, and like all these games.
I mean, Sunday morning is 9 o'clock all the way through till 2. Which, I mean, he may have had breaks between the particular ones, but I mean, it's so. I mean, kudos to Paul for actually attempting that. But I think, I mean, I wouldn't go to this level, but I think that for something like Spiel, I think this is what I mean by that third strand where you've got active content, so people can engage. And his isn't just him talking with. I mean, he's him talking with guests, but I think there's a lot of chat and a lot of engagement with the audience as well. So that's what I think we should be doing. That's the advantage of virtual. It's saying, right, this isn't just replicating a stand. This is saying, because it's virtual, we can do this kind of interesting streaming content. And what we need to do, I think, certainly what we'll be looking at probably is Surprise Stare, if we do this type of thing again, is arranging to create this content, and it's primarily ought to be live. So you're engaging people live in this. So it is verging into the kind of entertainment strand of things, the more traditional media entertainment type of thing. But I think that kind of, if you're going to do it, it's probably best to do it like that. But that's a big investment in time and effort to set it up.
Trailers that you've got, although I don't like this kind of trailer where it has a lot of graphics which admittedly look really cool. I mean, this okay, if you are just really into the theme, it gives you an idea of what the game's trying to be about. But I would personally like to just see a screenshot, at least, you know, of this is the game as set up on a table. This is what you're going to be enjoying.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, we've got that with this one. You at least get to see the things on the side here.
Yeah.
But I mean, CGE did do a really good job.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
I think this is the kind of thing that, we can all aspire to. And thank you, Alex, for listening to my chat with Paul. Because I used to do a thing called the Board Games with Bez, which was streaming once a week, which actually became too much for me. Because I think the reason why this is easier is because I never feel any need to edit anything. And also with that one, it had to be an absolute maximum of, I think it was 56 minutes, which was fine.
Yes.
I mean, I could always get it to be between, I mean, if I did, it had to be more than 50, because if it was less than 50, I felt like, well, I'm not giving people enough content. And ideally, I want it to be like 53 to 56, which is a really tight thing. Whereas here, I mean, look at us. We've had a really meaty topic, so we are still talking about this 2 hours.
Yeah. I was thinking it's 12 o'clock. It's nearly lunchtime. It's not breakfast anymore.
It was never breakfast. It was bedtime.
No, it was always bedtime, wasn't it? Sorry, yes, it was bedtime. It's true.
And
that's a good quote. That's a very good quote.
Sorry.
Well, it's very similar to writing. You know, writing something short, it takes a lot longer than writing something long. But still,
I mean, we could
it's bedtime somewhere. Very true.
Of these things, but I think we've chatted about a good amount of, we've seen a good number of pages that people had for the Virtually Expo, and decided that things we like are the short videos, and a good amount of text, a good number of pictures. And you said you need 3 things, Alan.
Yes, I think you need the quick reference material, which is your quick text descriptions, your short intros, like 60-second intros. Then you need, the second thing I think you need, because we're games focused, is access to playthroughs on video, pre-recorded playthroughs, and you could even have pre-recorded interviews with people as well. So there's things that people can, fun things that people can refer to if they want the facts, and how to play. But thirdly, and most importantly, I think we need to have this engaging, live streamed content, Q&As, interviews, chats. It's a bit like chatting to your friends, but for other people to engage with as well. That's what I think we also need.
I realized that we didn't talk at all about what we did outside of our own stands. My favorite moment was watching Dominic Kraprashet, who designed Wits and Wagers, and also, I'm not going to take Wits and Wagers and say anything. It's under too many boxes for me to grab right now. But yeah, this amazing designer, business person that, I was just able to ask all these questions, as was Adam Porter, or Dave Porter, as we should say. And having that connection to someone who, it's like in a big room, and that was amazing, because they would not have come to the UK, I don't think, because UK Games Expo is big, but it's not Essen big. Yes. And also Dominic hasn't even been to Essen, to be fair. Dominic kind of sends, a whole bunch of other people who are maybe better at demonstrating and more excitable and more able to do big announcements and things. But Dominic kind of being able to ask them questions, that having that one-to-one, just ask me anything. That was a really nice thing.
I mean, outside being on the stand, I mean, I was able to go and talk to other people. I mean, we had a good conversation on Sunday with the people at on the playtest stand. So while it was while people were coming and going on their kind of welcome stream, we were having a good chat with Tony and with Chris Backer and Ian on there. Well, knocking around issues like, how can we get designers and publishers together in the new environment? Are there ways in which we can wrestle with that particular problem when we can't necessarily physically meet? Are there gaps? Are we missing things in how to get people together in the new virtual environment? So that was quite interesting. And we have, well, through the playtest network, we have various ways in which virtual playtesting is going on. So it's useful to tap into all that and find out a bit more about what other people are doing. We also had a really good conversation about the various types of playing of games that we're doing across the spectrum of different types of games. So, for example, I'm involved with Charlie in a freeform virtual convention, and that there are slightly different problems with that kind of thing as opposed to board games. But there's going to be, we need to have some crossover. So the LARPers are all doing one type of thing, the board game is doing another type of thing, the war game is doing another type of thing, but we're all in the same virtual area, so we could share notes about that, pick up tips from each other on how to do it better. Some of us know more about the different types of tools than others, and we could share this, and that will be very, very, very useful, and even come up with completely new models eventually. So we've only been doing this for a few months, and we're really floundering, I think, most of us. So we need to share notes and work out how to do it all better.
I mean,
so
that's
it's much
why
better
I
for the
really
players.
appreciate being able to have an extended chat with you about this thing, to properly debrief it. And as we kind of finish up these questionably quick questions,
yes, go for it.
This entire thing has been the questionably quick question of how did it go for us, and all these things at the bottom. How did it go for us? In terms of numbers, I always have in terms of sales, which is the easiest thing to talk about in terms of numbers. Now I can talk about that because it's recorded online. In terms of personal, emotional, how much did I enjoy it? And in terms of, reaching out to people. So in terms of sales, for me, I think I might basically between now and Thursday, let's say, I've sold 2 things on my shop. One of them was just before UK Games Expo started. I don't think that had any connection. And one of them was in the middle of yesterday. And I don't think that had any connection to UK Games Expo either. I could be wrong. It could have been someone who saw it and was like, oh, wow, I really quite fancy that game now. Hey, let me ponder it for a day, and then I'll decide whether to buy it or not tomorrow. Which might have been an absolutely fair thing to do, because I wasn't offering any discounts or anything for UK Games Expo. But for me, it felt like I would... I was disappointed by that. By the number of engagements, I was really happy with the number of people I was chatting to on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, although I realize now that I probably could have done my Sunday morning on a totally different weekend. And I was disappointed with how many people were around for my streams in general. But I'm aware that that was possibly because my page looked a bit rubbish. It was, I know you said it's focused, but I should really have had, I did try to upload some things, and then I went through some technical difficulties. I was doing it last minute. I was doing it on, I want to say, Thursday night. And why I had left it up until that late moment, I can't tell you. The only reason I can say is that I am prone to doing things in a last minute thing later than they should be. And so if I had gotten things ready, maybe worked through those technical difficulties, had a quick video that, or even just the same picture that I showed earlier on, saying these are my things, that would have been more interesting for people to say, okay, this looks like some effort has been made to it. Maybe it's worth us making the next step of clicking through. Again, I don't know how many people would have actually seen that stand page, but then I understand why UK Games Expo wanted us in the exhibitor hall to only link to our own stands and not to link to other things, because they want to have the focus on those stands. They want to make sure that we accept some responsibility of making those stands good. In the terms of how much did I enjoy it, I did enjoy it, but I feel like it was a weird situation for me personally, where I felt like on Bez Day, I felt like, okay, no matter what, how good this content is, it's fine. It was quite relaxing to do. I was allowing myself to eat on camera, if you know what I mean. And whereas for UK Games Expo, it was like, okay, I have to have the best, make this as good as I can. But there was like quite often like 1 or 2 people watching, or sometimes even, hey, no one's watching this for quite a bit of Yogi Stock Guru. What's going on with that? Is it just because I've not advertised it enough? Because there's so much else going on, and it might just be because there is so much else going on. Which would I do it again? I would do it again for a kind of but I don't know if as a trader I would realistically pay to be very much at all, if any, to be part of something like this.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, our sales we had a handful of sales during the expo, not as much as not as much as I wanted. I really had no expectations though. So the fact that we made some sales, including a Snowdonia actually, which is quite good, weirdly. But on the other hand, yesterday we launched a special sale price to shops for the Ming Voyages, March Progress, and Lux Turner, and we've already had masses of sales for that. So I don't know how much that is influenced by UK Games Expo. I was hoping it might be, which is why we launched the sale yesterday, immediately after the expo finished. So there may have been an impact there, but it's difficult to disentangle that from the other marketing. So that's that. And in terms of what I would do different, I don't think I'd probably put so much effort in. I think I put too much effort into it, and that was partly a nervousness about not knowing what was going to happen. So I think I would have probably not put as much stuff on the stand for this particular exercise.
Would you still have made your page look as good as it did?
I would probably not have done as much on it. No, I doubt whether it had a huge impact. So where you think that maybe yours did have an impact, an adverse impact, I think mine. Even though I put more effort in, I think it probably didn't have much impact. So I would probably do less. Oh, Lux Turner, where can you get Lux Turner? It's still going on. Yeah, it should be available through lots of shops. That's the idea. So you should be able to get it online. So yeah, I mean, I can sell it. I can sell it direct if you want to contact me. Because we have copies here, but we're mainly selling Lux through distribution channels. So Spiral Galaxy are doing it. So your local game shop should have it, or it should be available online. We'd like to do that. Yeah. What was good? The things that I found that were good was, as I said before, meeting up with loads of people, and I would not want to miss that. So I am actually glad that I did it, but for the slightly unexpected reason that it allowed me to talk to, a couple of dozen people who I hadn't spoken to for a long time, because it's just, it's more difficult to arrange things.
Alan Allison's just asking, was Lux Eterna discounted for UK Games
Expo?
Yes.
Yes. Our shop is still live. If you'd like to, is it on our stand still? The link to the shop's probably still on our stand. So it's still. Can we put our shop? Are we allowed to put our shop link?
Yeah, if you kind of
I can find
send it to me in the private chat, I'll put it into the comment.
I will do that.
We've got a really it's apparently 20 quid on your shop.
Yeah.
Andrew January makes a really good point. Ideally, all this content should be reusable.
Yes.
And those short videos, that's how I was talking about. If I got myself, Chris, let's work out a script. I'll do some quick, videos of explaining things. Because I could have even reused some videos that already exist. I mean, so is that this? Yeah, that does look like exactly the same link as Alan Outson just pasted.
Yes, that's the one. Yep. That's the one. It should be still there.
I will paste that in all destinations just to get it into the Facebook and YouTube as well if people are watching afterwards.
That would be great. Thanks.
So now, yeah, Andrew January's question. So yeah, I think that I'm realizing more and more in this digital age that I need to make more use of not just copy pasting, but also directing people to a Google document. Like when I ask people to come on and saying, hey, please do these following things, and these are the steps before you come on this show, I'm going to write that as a Google document so that I don't have to copy, paste it, or rewrite, let alone rewrite it. It's just a case of, hey, here's the information, please look over this.
Yeah.
And these are the things that you need to do. And I could copy paste from that in line. But same with when people ask me for, hey, Bez, could you give a quick bio of yourself? If I'm rewriting a biography of myself, like a 2-line thing for someone else's stream that I'm going on, that's really inefficient. I should really have all this content, you know, somewhere. And part of that is being organized. And that's on me. That's on, I guess, Alan. Or, sorry, Dave Paul. You know, and I do think that if we are smart about it, we can make things and then reuse them. But then that takes away from the wonderful thing about conventions, which is that every time you see someone at a convention, there's unique things. And I think that goes into what you said, Alan, that yes, you want those quick references, the 60-second intros, maybe longer pre-recorded videos, because I know Inside the Box had a pre-recorded video of myself and his talking about Seize the Power. But also you want that live content where people can jump in and they can ask you questions, things like, you know, like all the people here and all the people who were in any of my streams, like when we were doing Fable, and then someone started influencing the game that we were playing by virtue of determining the story elements of the cards and what the obligatory word for the next person would be. So it was more of a audience performer freeform.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I had wanted to see if I could arrange for for Dave Mortimer and I to play a game of the Ming Voyages live for the expo, but that unfortunately Dave couldn't make it. But that's the kind of content I mean. Is having people being able to comment and chat while we're playing, and we can banter while we're playing. That would have been great. I would love to have done that, but didn't prove that could be possible.
I mean, if we get to what did we most enjoy, what went well for us? For me, it was chatting on the UK Games Expo thing. That was the highlight, and also playing Fable. That went really well. If you can pick a couple of highlights, what were best for you, Alan?
I think for me, well, I think that my Sunday the Ming Voyages presentation went quite well. I was quite pleased with that. I mean, I hadn't looked at it again, so I don't know whether that's actually true. But really, literally, it's being able to talk to lots of people in depth. I mean, Friday night I think Friday night was particularly good because I hadn't expected it to happen. We had like 4 or 5 of us who were sitting around. It was a bit like being down a pub, you know, sitting around having our own beer and having a good chat about anything that came up, really, with a bunch of friends. That was very good, which was, as I said, it was unexpected, but great.
We've got a quick question. Did anyone have a 24-hour stream filling in their gaps with pre-recorded content? That, I mean, I know that sounds so, it's like, wow, there's always something going on. But I don't know if that's necessarily what you want, is it? Because I was talking to Dave Weatherall about this, who is actually called Dave.
He is actually called Dave.
And Dave was talking about my Bez Day content, saying, you know, Bez, I'm not going to come for your full thing. I'm not going to watch it. But if you tell me that this bit is the bit that I should really be there for, that's what I'm going to go there for.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, the main bits are going to be the 10 a.m. bit and the 2 p.m. bits, because 2 p.m. is kind of a holdover from, you know, the old days when I did a 2 p.m. prize event.
Yeah.
Every ticketed convention I would ever go to.
Yeah.
And
Alan's put a famous design saying Dave. Yes, there we go.
Stuff by Dave. Dave all there. Surprise Dave. The Dave Voyages. Dave Toiber. Dave. Dave Leacock. Pan David.
Oh, of course, Dave Livingston and Dave Jackson. Very famous. Yes.
Dave's Workshop.
Yeah.
Dave Garfield. And David the
David the Gathering that's Dave Moon's session, isn't it? Thingy famous.
Oh no, that's the Gathering of Daves.
No, that's Gathering of Daves.
The Gathering of Daves. This is David the Gathering.
David the Gathering.
Very famous skating by Dave Garfield. as opposed to their more recent game, which is Dave Stone.
Yes, that's right. Okay, good. Thank you.
And so, what could be better? I was thinking that we could have talked a little bit about any tips for UK Games Expo itself. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been better, but in terms of UK Games Expo's management, we can always. I think it's always good to dream big. I think that for me, the main issues were basically they've already been addressed. The timetable of events was not quite as easy to find as it perhaps should have been. For me, that was the biggest issue, and I still think that as an exhibitor, I think there's still a major issue from our perspective, and that is that the expo is focused on the community as a whole, and it's focused very much on providing lots and lots of entertainment centrally. So, there's lots of things for people to do apart from go to the exhibition hall. And it does mean that a lot of people can go to the expo and just not go to the exhibition hall at all, which I suppose is fine. But it does feel that that, as opposed to the spiel is focused on providing a means for exhibitors, publishers to show off their new stuff and get people to try them out. Well, that's the joy of Expo, isn't it? The joy of Expo is that you do get these seminars, that you do have other things going on.
Yes, but I think that the virtual expo showed up that difference between the expo and spiel, in that there's a hell of a lot more that you can do at expo apart from playing games with exhibitors. Now that may be a good thing. I mean, it was one of the things where the expo decided to do open gaming, which isn't something that Spiel does. Spiel is focused very much on saying, Spiel is organised by independent people. It's not actually organised directly by publishers, although they have quite a big influence, obviously. But they decided not to do open gaming because they didn't want people just to go to Spiel and play their own games, because they can do that anywhere. What they wanted was for people to play.
Spiel is very much about encouraging people to go and buy things in many ways. Whereas Spiel's very much shopping driven, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
I do like the fact that UK Games Expo is about the experience, and I think it behooves a virtual version of something to capture a little bit of that experience. Aquasulis makes a great point. I'm not going to say that 150 people were actively engaged in watching my talk, but it's possible. I mean, yeah, sure, some of them might have muted me and just been in the chat, but even if, there's no way that 150 people would have been able to fit into a room to listen to me in any of the rooms that they would have given me. It's and Alan Outson's been to every virtual expo but never been to the itself. But when we talk about a popular stand, I think what Aquasulis mentions is that there could be, let's say, 1,000 people all going to the one stand, and so for that reason, potentially the smaller people might be losing out.
Yes. I mean, I have a worry, having looked at I've just had a little look at some of the Spiel digital stuff, and the initial proposal is that the exhibitors will be themed. So, there'll be board games, family games, blah, blah, blah. So there's a number of themes, and depending on how much money you spend as an exhibitor, you get one or more themes that you'll be part of. And then they're doing as I said, it's only the initial, they may change. The size of your stand on the page depends on how much money you spent. So basically, if you're a big player, when they go to that theme, they'll see your stand. Now, the size of stand works okay in the physical stand because people wander up the corridors, and theoretically I could be next to a big stand like Queen Games, and they'll still see me because they're going down the corridor. But if it's just on a page, the danger is that the small stands may just get overlooked completely. You mean, oh, okay, I'm going to Pegasus Spiel. Oh, there's Surprise Day Games. You know, a little inch square on my screen. I may not even see it.
An inch is pretty big. You mean like 5 pixels or something?
No, but I mean, what I mean is the size disparity there.
I get what you mean. Absolutely. And also that brings me to another thing. I don't know if it, is it confidential information the price that Spiel is, or am I? I
don't think it's confidential. No.
Okay, so like you have to pay at least €600.
Yes.
As an exhibitor to be part of Spiel.
Yeah.
And to me, that feels like, wow, that's a lot. I mean,
that's nearly as much as you'd pay to go to the physical Spiel.
I don't know if I would be. I'm just looking at that and thinking, yeah, I'm not going to that. I mean,
I agree with you. I mean, I'm already questioning whether we can really seriously. I mean, am I going to even sell €600 worth of product at Spiel? I just don't. I didn't sell anything like what I would have sold at Expo, on the virtual Expo, that I would have done.
So last year, I sold about 200 things at UK Games Expo 2019. At Virtual Expo, I sold, let's call it 0, because I did sell 2 things, but both of them were out with it. And there is obviously the marketing. Someone might see me like. I did, so I got 4 people to join my mailing list, even though I kind of told people about it fairly regularly.
I mean, Sate makes a good comment there. Just make simultaneous online content and talk about it on Twitter or something similar. I mean, I was wondering, for example, you can have a prototype table at Spiel for like €75. So maybe just have a prototype table. And as long as it's got Surprise Day Games on it somewhere, we can point people in the direction the way we want to go, without actually having to have a €600 stand, which is very expensive. So I mean, obviously, from their point of view, they need to make money, because it'll be significant much more investment than Expo will be for Spiel. So they have to have some way of getting some income, otherwise they can't run it. And so I can see why they have to do that, but it just seems that it's such an unknown quantity. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, building a platform. And hello, Wimday Webmaster. So it's lovely to have you along for the chat.
Oh yeah, and it is free for visitors. That's a good point. It is. They are making it free for visitors. So they're cutting their income back a lot.
And I would say that UK Games Expo, Virtually Expo, I think that it was really generous what they did. It is free to visitors. Yes, you could pay like £1 to get a virtual drink or a virtual hot dog, and it was just a way to show your appreciation. And at the end, it said, "Hey, do you want to give us £5 or £10 if you feel it's worth it?" And
it was also free to exhibitors who had already booked the physical. So I think
exhibitors who were already
booked. Yes.
If any exhibitor was not booked, so if there was an exhibitor, let's say in Japan or Korea, or Australia, who maybe felt like they would like to be at Virtually Expo, but originally they couldn't go to UK Games Expo, I think it was £150.
Yes.
Which feels more appropriate, because basically what you're getting is the online marketing of being able to promote your thing a few times. And
I think it was fair what UK Games Expo did, and I think within the timescale they had, it was pretty good. I agree with Andrew January. It was.
I think that they did a really good job overall, and I was happy to be part of it. And at least for this year, whilst we couldn't meet with 20,000 people in a big hall, maybe not 20,000 people all at once, to be fair, but it gets pretty dense at times, and that is pretty. But they did spend all this money of their own accord to basically say, hey, let's keep it going, let's put in something to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to hopefully generate a lot of goodwill for UK Games Expo. And I think that my ideal, so this is the end of my review of UK Games Expo from what they did perspective, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
My ideal situation would be honestly just repeat it. It was actually quite reasonably good. There's a few things to improve on. Let's improve on the scheduling. Honestly, the schedules have always been a weak point of UK Games Expo. It's always been good because you've got the physical brochure and the magazine. When you get that, that's super clear. And they've been great at embracing that physical magazine. And there's so much more content in there than you get in any other conventions magazine. There's like really good UK Games Expo magazines. And but I would say in 2021, assuming, fingers crossed, we can have UK Games Expo in 200 and whatever days, I would suggest, this is just, you know, I understand it's going to cost them work and everything. Do your UK Games Expo, make it happen, because that is brilliant. But then have the Virtually Expo again as a kind of free event, maybe for those people who were at the physical UK Games Expo, they also get a free stand at Virtually Expo. And people who weren't at UK Games Expo, they need to pay a small fee to go to Virtually Expo, because being part of those talks for me as an exhibitor is good. As a punter, I really enjoyed being able to click through a few talks of things that were going on.
I would certainly like. I would support that as a general concept. But I'd like to see them develop the Virtually Expo a little bit more. I think the whole thing's predicated on there being a physical one, because they won't be able to afford to do anything if they don't get a physical one. And the problem is they'll have to make money somehow out of a virtual one as well. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they'll do it again if they can't get extra income for it. I can't see the way, unless they can get somebody to sponsor it or something like that to pay for it. But I would love them to do it. But I think they can. I think it's possible to develop it in a way which makes it cheaper to run. I think they take it more like the virtual tabletop convention that they did. So that basically, what you're running is a schedule of events. That's what. Yeah, effectively, that's what you'd be doing. You'd be saying,
"Well, yeah,
here's an opportunity for you to have a scheduled events if you're an exhibitor or anybody else for that matter, and have a community-driven thing." But it means that you don't have to. I think you don't have to have things like the virtual exhibition hall. It would be completely unnecessary. You'd actually mainly publicize it as a schedule of events, and that would be cheaper to do. And obviously they've got the experience now of having run a virtual con as well as physical con. So in that sense, they've got some of the infrastructure already in place. So it would be possible to run it possibly more cheaply.
Yeah, once you've got that infrastructure going, then it's going to be easier to repeat.
But knowing that it probably costs more money. I mean, I know from our point of view, it feels like it ought to be cheaper. But having been involved in similar things, not national events, but events of that type, they do tend to get more expensive as you go on because you think of more things.
There were absolutely sponsors. There were those people who had their names up at the top, which I think is totally fair. And those people got a little bit more advertising, and that did help offset the cost. I know that overall it was still a loss for UK Games Expo as a business this year. They had to pay for a lot of things and not recoup all those costs. But yes, there were definitely sponsors that helped, offset those costs. And by virtue of paying them extra money, you got a bit of extra advertising. There's a quick question. If all cons had to be virtually, would you exhibit if there's also physical conventions?
Difficult question. Very difficult. If it was all virtual next year, it would all depend on cost. If there are people running free virtual conventions because we set up some stuff, we probably would. It would really depend on cost, because none of us can live on air. The cons can't, but neither can we. And if we don't get sales, then from a publishing point of view, it becomes more difficult to justify. If there were physical cons as well,
I think that's, for me personally, I agree. It's all about the cost. I am not going to be at Spiel online just because I can't justify that cost. I can justify going there where I bring product, I sell a lot of my games to shops at the end of the whole weekend. And by virtue of being there, I've gotten my games into Australia and Denmark. And that's not something I could do at UK Games Expo in the same way, but I certainly can't do that at a virtual con. And also, it's the whole physical experience. I enjoy it. I consider exhibiting at a virtual convention more like work.
I am ambivalent about Spiel Digital at the moment because I need to talk to Tony about it because we always make, obviously, discussion.
Oh yes, absolutely. We're not going to go into future plans too much.
But I just don't know. I was quite surprised at the cost though. That was really, I didn't think it would cost that. I didn't think they would try to charge that much.
And I understand.
I'm comparing it to Free Expo, of course.
I understand these things cost money to develop and to set up that framework. But as an exhibitor, it's just a case of, I don't think I get that return on investment. I have to think about it in financial terms at some point. It is basically an online marketing thing. And our final question to ourselves was, what lessons did we learn for ourselves? I realized that I probably should have spent a bit more time earlier ahead. Firstly, I need to be more accepting of the situation of things and be like, okay, if it turns out badly, that's okay. It's out with my hands. Sometimes have a kind of, okay, less is more, not do the Discord so I can focus on one thing. And I think I should have gotten more in touch to check, because I think there were some things like the on tabletop I could have applied to be part of that possibly that I didn't. And that was a thing, just something where I dropped the ball. And so those are my lessons to myself, to kind of pay a little bit more attention to those things. Do you have any, also make more reusable content?
Yeah, I think for me, it's do more online stuff. I have to get more involved in social media, and I think I have to do a bit more streaming, because I think that's how we will create more content. And if this situation goes on, we will need to have more interactive content. Well, not interactive, multimedia content. We need to have more of that. So in order to sell more board games, we actually have to do more online stuff, which is time consuming, but I think there's no other way. We have to just grasp that one.
And so I think at this point, I'm going to say let's wrap up. So to recap, we've decided that Virtual Expo overall, are you happy we went?
Yeah.
We realized that the badges, we had some really good ideas from the chat, where if they had like more of a treasure hunt, like the 88 things, if you could remind me what that was, kind of saying, okay, for this you get raffle, that's going to encourage more people to do things. And the raffle prize could just be one game, frankly. It could just be one prize that everyone who wants to chips in one of their games.
Yeah.
And frankly, sometimes
that would be big. That could theoretically be quite big.
That could be an incredible prize. Yeah, like I would chip in like probably a copy of Yogi Guru and maybe Dice and Ink, like my new things. Why not? Oh damn! I just realized I forgot to cite Yogi Guru. I think that was only released last year. I'm losing track of when my things are released. It's got too much going on. But we decided there's a lot of accessibility benefits. We decided that we all like Owen Duffy. That's Owen Duffy has one freelance. It's no longer technically working.
No, I hadn't realised that, but yeah.
But according to Aquasulus, we don't know. This is just hearsay. But sorry, Owen Davey.
Owen Davey, yes.
Yeah, so we were.
No, he's not a designer. He's not a designer. He can be called Owen. Fine.
Yeah, it doesn't
apply to journalists.
We decided on any web page, you want to have some quick references, some pictures, some 60-second intros, some pre-recorded content potentially, because that's fine, and also something live to have some engagements going on. Yeah. is there anything else that you want to recap?
I think that's fine. I think we can keep the message nice and short, Bez. after 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay, and I have pasted a whole bunch of Surprise Terror Games links in the thing, so if you want to read out where people can find you.
We are surprisedaygames.co.uk, twitter.com/benthamfish, twitter.com/surprisedaygames, and Board Game Geek. I'm Alan Paul, and I am Alan at surprisedaygames.co.uk.
And that is if you wish to find Alan and all the wonderful games that are weird and wonderful, might make you stare at them in a slightly surprised manner. I am stuffbybez.com. I have fixed my website. I should get that back. Also, stuffbybez.bigcartel.com is where you can buy my stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbybez. I tweet a lot. Instagram.com/stuffbybez is occasional pictures of whatever I'm enjoying or making. Twitch.tv/stuffbybez is all about my streaming. Facebook.com/thingsbybez is a thing. And stuffbybez@gmail.com is where you can reach out if you wish to email me. I wish to say, do you have anything left to say?
I'm out. I need my lunch.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrew January. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Alan Oughton, Alex, Xate.
Thanks, everybody. Yes.
Everybody. And most importantly, thank you to Alan. And if we do, looking forward to hopes and ambitions, it's over to you for this final section. I'm looking forward to going, and I'm going to say this. It says PG, I think. I'm looking forward to urination.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to lunch. I'm definitely looking forward to lunch. I need my lunch.
And there are obviously more grandiose things that we're looking forward to. Yes. Going to be going to the post office. I'm going to be getting a bit of work done. I'm going to be starting up the thing that's I'm working on with Xate and getting up some stuff. But if you've enjoyed this, share, spread the word. My next stream is tonight at 8 p.m. and that is going to be at we're going to be playing some games. And tomorrow at 10 a.m. I am talking to, who am I talking to tomorrow? Oh, Phoebe Wild, who made nerdy clothes based on board games. And we are going to be talking about scammers and how not to get influenced by scammers, because they actually had a bit of problem on Kickstarter. And so, that is what is happening. And so, there's going to be some news that we can share with you later. Alan also gets into their pajamas. Lots of stuff going on with everyone. And there is only one thing left to do, which is to say, bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.